with me?
Le Biagi?
There we go. The Jewish problem, part 3. Today we will concentrate on the Jews and the law of karma. But before we do that, let's quickly recap the rays of the Jews. If you remember from last session, the personality ray of the Jews was the third ray, but their soul ray was on the first ray of will. Their sun sign is Capricorn, which transmits ray 1, ray 3, ray 5, and ray 7. So we see already a preponderance of ray 3 and a preponderance or a dominance of ray 1. And their ascendant sign is Virgo, ray 2 and ray 6. Mercury, which is the exoteric ruler of Virgo, their soul sign, and is also the ruler of Gemini. The sun was in Gemini in the later Lemurian times when they were the most advanced group of disciples. So Mercury and Virgo play a very prominent part in their destiny. Master DK tells us in esoteric astrology. And we saw from last time that both Virgo and Capricorn are earth signs. That is, they are signs that deals with a dense materiality, the practical side of life. Now, we left off last week with that thought that a clue to the significance of the Jewish people as a karmic clearing house can be found here. And they asked us to ponder on these words, a karmic clearing house. So let's explore that thought for a minute. So why did he ask us to ponder on the karmic clearing house? Because the Jews as a whole constitute the solar plexus of the planetary logos. Through the Jewish people, throughout the world, feeling, whether it's sympathetic or antagonistic, expressive of love or conditioned by hate, is being gathered to a focus in the planetary solar plexus center. And watch now these next words that are very, very revealing. Preparatory to a great and permanent change. So what really DK is hinting at here, the great and permanent change, that is, it is the substitution of the solar plexus forces into the heart center. This is what humanity is going through now, as humanity goes through the pangs of the first initiation, which is the establishment of the kingdom of souls on earth. So hatred, separativeness, and aggression are the three major sins of humanity. And they are the three modes whereby the forces of darkness seek to control humanity. And their spiritual counterparts are love, selfless sharing, and synthesis. So we can see already just by the enumeration of the qualities, the opposition of the solar plexus to the heart center. Now, in the next quote, DK is referring to diseases in the etheric body. But now we've got to use this as our jumping board so that we can extend what he's saying to the Jewish people. So if you were to ask me, what in relation lies behind all disease, all frustrations, error, and lack of divine expression in the three worlds, I would say it was separativeness, which produces the major difficulties arising in the etheric body, plus the inability of the outer tangible form to respond adequately to the inner and subtler impulses. Here is found the cause, the secondary cause, as I pointed out above, of the bulk of the trouble. Now, if you remember from last session, we saw that the Jews embodied the principle of separativeness, and they are the solar plexus of our logos. So we can see, therefore, just by expanding this quote, how then the Jews are creating a problem, so to speak, for the planetary logos. And what is going on in the world at the moment is that the solar plexus of the world is being overstimulated. And through this overstimulation, then it needs to be raised up to the heart center. The divine purpose, as it expresses itself through the hierarchical plan, manifests that quality of love, the will to good, which gives to the purpose and the plan warmth, its magnetic appeal, and the major attribute of healing. So it might be said that the purpose of the planetary logos, as it emanates from his high place under the impact of his will to good, is redemptive in nature. This theme of redemption, which underlies all the initiatory processes, is hidden in the karmic responsibilities of Sanat Kumar, thus making the Jewish problem as the planetary solar plexus very closely linked to the karma of our planetary logos. The Lord of the world, through meditation, is carrying forward processes which he instituted in his original creative meditation back in the darkest night of the time when he decided to create this planet of ours for strictly redemptive purposes. let's briefly see the aim of the three solar systems, and let us then define their nature and their purpose. The aim of the first solar system is to unfold intelligence, the third aspect of divinity, where the laws of nature must dominate or have dominated. They were the highest phase of the divine life possible in the first solar system. They are primarily the laws inherent in the life aspect of the form and have in them, therefore, the seeds of death. The aim of the second solar system is to unfold love, the second aspect of divinity, where the laws of the soul are meant to dominate. They are the highest laws to which humanity can respond, and these, when fulfilled, will conclude the purpose of the second solar system. Now, the aim of the third solar system is to unfold will, the first aspect of divinity, where the laws of life will dominate. And these laws will be distinctive of the third solar system. So what we are really saying here is, what is the purpose of our planetary logos? Is to transform the matter of the second solar system through love, via the agency of the solar angels, which is ourselves. So our planetary logos' plan, soul plan, is to transform this matter of the second solar system inherited from the first solar system by infusing and unfolding the second aspect of love in it, so as to form an intelligent, loving vehicle for the will of the solar logos to be expressed in the third solar system, where we are told that in the third system, the primordial substance will demonstrate a second quality, which is that of love. So a planetary logos has likewise, under the law of synthesis, to carry forward a specific project in line with the will of the solar logos. And this, our planetary logos, Sanat Kumara, is in the process of doing, providing a definite culture wherein the germ of the solar will can be fostered in one of its aspects, that is, either mental, astral, or etheric physical. And it's not just on Earth that this is happening. In conjunction with a similar project going on in 2 other planets, thus fostering 2 other aspects, either mental, astral, etheric, or physical, the nucleus of the third solar system will be brought eventually into expression. So we can see that this is really going way beyond, simple conflict between nations. It's the establishment of the qualities of the soul on earth. Now, to his disciple, DPR, DK explains the clash of the ray methods, saying to him that most of the conflict in his life has been the result of his astral body working under second ray influence with a reaction with his third ray physical body. And then he gives a hint at a close relation between the second and the third rays often works out in difficulty, for they express two different ways of building. So what are we seeing here if we extend the teaching, the ageless wisdom teaching here? What we are really seeing is the result of the clash of the energy of the Jewish soul ray, Virgo, ray 2, and the ray of its personality forces, Capricorn, ray 3, or the conflict between the soul and its personality, the solar plexus and the heart center, because both are both rays have got different ways of building. At least it gives us an inkling of the nature of the conflict. Now let's have a look at the Lord of Karma, Saturn, who is the personality and sole ruler of the Jewish personality ray, sun sign, Capricorn. The exoteric and the esoteric planetary rulers of Capricorn are the same. And Saturn rules the career of the man in this sign, that is Capricorn, no matter whether he is on the ordinary or the reversed wheel, or whether he is on the mutable or on the fixed cross. Saturn is one of the most potent of the four lords of karma and forces men to face up to the past and in the present to prepare for the future. Such is the intention and the purpose of karmic opportunity. So we can see that Saturn, as the soul ruler and the personality ruler of the Jewish people, are really presenting this most advanced group of disciples a karmic opportunity. So from certain angles, Saturn can be regarded as the planetary dweller on the threshold. For humanity as a whole has to face that dweller as well as the angel of the presence, and in so doing, discover that both the dweller and the angel are that complex duality which is the human family. So through their ruler Saturn, the Lord of Karma, the Jews are being presented with a karmic opportunity for the Virgoan soul to manifest itself. So the battle is therefore on between the form side of life, the personality of the Jewish people, and its soul, Virgo. The dweller on the threshold of divinity, Dike tells us, is humanity itself, with its ancient habits of thoughts, its selfishness and greed. And remember what Dike said right at the beginning. We presented this quote, that the problem of the Jews is the problem of humanity. So here we saw that Saturn, being the ruler of Capricorn, is the dweller on the threshold for the Jews. So humanity too today stands face to face with the angel of the presence, the soul whose nature is love and light and inclusive understanding. The great problem today is which of these two will emerge the victor out of the conflict. Which of these two great agencies of life will determine humanity's future and indicate the way which humanity will decide to go? The outstanding evidence of the law of karma is the Jewish race, DK tells us. All nations, though, prove this law. But DK chooses to refer to the Hebrew people because their history is so well known and their future and their destiny are subjects of worldwide universal concern. And we've already seen the Jews are a group of people in whom the principle of separation is pronouncedly present, and that on the account of being the planetary solar plexus, as we saw last time, and being the most advanced product of the first solar system. So for ages they have, with determination and in obedience to the injunctions of the Old Testament, insisted on regarding themselves as a people set apart. The result is that they are now evoking from the races among whom they are scattered a corresponding desire to force that very separation upon them. So under the law, we draw forth from others what is actually present within ourselves. And to this law, races and nations are no exception. So there has been a conflict between the Palestinians and the Jews for over 2 centuries. So being separative themselves, so they are drawing from the Palestinians in this particular case what is present within themselves. Today, the law is working and the Jews are paying the price, factually and symbolically, for all they have done in the past. Factually and symbolically, they are humanity. Factually and symbolically, they stand as they have ever chosen to stand, for separation. They regard themselves as the chosen people and have an innate consciousness of that high destiny, forgetting their symbolic role, that it is humanity which is the chosen people, and not one small and unimportant fraction of the race. So we can see the subjective soul Virgo urges, which have been distorted by the personality Capricornian material application. Factually and symbolically, they long for unity and cooperation, and yet know not how to cooperate. Factually and symbolically, they are the eternal pilgrim. They are mankind wandering through the mazes of the 3 worlds of human evolution and gazing with longing eyes towards a promised land. But the promised land is that land flowing with milk and honey, are the gates of light, or the gates of peace, as mentioned in the archives. That is the soul realm. They misinterpreted the promised land or heaven, the true Jerusalem, the place of peace, as the word Jerusalem means, for a physical, earthy place, a Jewish city. So the promised land is not material, but it's the soul, their own soul. That's the land of a flowing with milk and honey. That's the promised land. Factually and symbolically, they resemble the mass of men refusing to comprehend the underlying spiritual purpose of all material phenomena, rejecting the Christ within, as they did centuries ago, the Christ within their borders, grasping for material good and steadily rejecting the things of the Spirit. They demand the so-called restitution of Palestine, wresting it away from those who have inhabited it for many centuries. And by their continued emphasis upon material possessions, they lose sight of the true solution, which is that symbolically and factually again, they must be assimilated into all the nations and fused with all the races, thus demonstrating recognition of the one humanity. So today they are paying the price as they demand the restitution of Palestine as being belonging to them. The Jews were great aggressors. They despoiled the Egyptians and they took the promised land at the point of the sword, sparing neither man, woman, nor child. Their religious history has been built around a materialistic Jehovah, possessive, greedy, and endorsing and encouraging aggression. Their history is symbolic of the history of all aggressors, rationalizing themselves into the belief that they are carrying out divine purpose, wresting away from people their property in a spirit of self-defense, and finding some reason adequate to them to excuse the iniquity of their action. So Palestine was taken by the Jews because it was a land flowing with milk and honey. And the claim was that the act was undertaken in obedience to divine command. And that was way back in 1280 BC, before Christ. So you can see how karma is working today, is manifesting itself today. They are paying what they've done in the past to the Egyptians, to the Palestinians. The fight over Palestine, Master DK tells us, is fomented by the Zionists, not by the Jews as a whole. A fight in which the Zionists prevented the displaced Jewish persons, only 20% of the whole, from discovering how welcome they are in many countries throughout the world. And it's a fight that has greed and not any love of Palestine behind it, and which is governed by financial interests and not by the humanitarian spirit which the Zionists claim. There's a bit of a historical reference here, which is made to the massive immigration of the Jews after the World War I into Palestine, when the British Mandate incorporated the Balfour Declaration of 1917, expressing support for the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. During that mandate, from 1922 to 1947, large-scale Jewish emigration, mainly from Eastern Europe, took place, and the numbers swelling in the 1930s with a Nazi persecution. Almost 5 years before receiving the mandate from the League of Nations, the British government had given commitments to the Zionist organizations regarding the establishment of a Jewish national home in Palestine, for which Zionist leaders had pressed a claim of historical connection since their ancestors had lived in Palestine 2,000 years earlier, before dispersing in the diaspora. Arab demands for independence and resistance to immigration led to a rebellion in 1937, followed by continuing terrorism and violence from both sides. UK considered various formula to bring independence to a land ravaged by violence. And in 1947, the UK turned the Palestine problem over to the UN. This has been taken from a very brief history of the question of Palestine, which is only 4 minutes and 11 seconds on this United Nations website called The History of the Question of Palestine. It gives us a clue of what's been going on in the past so that we can understand the present. The national thought form of any nation, Dike tells us, is necessarily a powerful entity. And we can observe an instance of this in the thought form of the Jews, which is the most powerful of all, because they are not a nation in any true sense, but an ancient religion. They have resurrected something that has been dead for many, many centuries and are now attempting to call it a nation. And there is always trouble, Dike tells us, when that which should be past and gone seeks recognition along ancient lines. And this is a lesson which the Zionists must perforce learn. The area of difficulty, as we all know, is the Near East and Palestine. The Jews, by their illegal and terrorist activities, have laid a foundation of great difficulty for those who are seeking to promote world peace. As a Jewish member of my ashram, Dike tells us, pointed out, and I commend him on his soul vision, the Jews have partially again opened the door to the forces of evil, which worked originally through Hitler and his evil gang. The sealing of that door had not been successfully accomplished, and it is the part of wisdom to discover this in time. These forces of evil work through a triangle of evil, he tells us. one point of which is to be found in the movement in the United States, another in Central Europe, and the third in Palestine, forming a triangle of evil. Palestine is no longer a holy land and should not so be regarded. It should not be called the Holy Land anymore, because its sacred places are only the passing relics of three dead and gone religions, where the spirit has gone out of the old faiths and the true spiritual light is transferring itself into a new form which will manifest on earth eventually as the new world religion. Judaism is old, obsolete, and separative, and has no true message for the spiritually minded people, which cannot be better given by the newer faiths. The Muslim faith has served its purpose, and all true Muslims await the coming of the Imam Mahdi, who will lead them to light and to spiritual victory. And the Christian faith, too, also served its purpose. Its founder, the Christ, seeks to bring a new gospel and a new message which will enlighten all men everywhere. So therefore, Jerusalem stands for nothing of importance today, except for that which has passed away and should pass away. The Holy Land is no longer holy and is desecrated by selfish interests and a basically separative and conquering nation. So how is karma resolved? All karma of evil nature is solved by 1. The presentation of an accepting will, that is, both parties, or the country or the nation in question or the person in question must be willing to accept truth. A cooperative love, a frank acknowledgement of responsibility, and taking responsibility and owning their actions or responsibility for their actions. And a skillful adjustment of united joint activity to bring out the good of humanity as a whole, not just the good of an individual nation or people or race. The Jewish problem, Nikkei tells us, will not be solved by taking possession of Palestine, by plaint and demand, and by financial manipulations. That would be but the prolongation of ancient wrong and material possessiveness. So in other words, it will perpetuate their karma. They just keep it going and going rather than moving forward in the opposite direction in trying to redress the problem. So when humanity will have solved correctly the Jewish problem, and when it has been resolved in a humanitarian and sound manner, then the energy of the planetary solar plexus center will have been raised to the heart, and a great transmutation will have taken place. Thank you, friends. Next week, we will see solutions that DK are proposing. And that will be the last of our presentation on the Jewish problem. And so now, if you do have a comment or would like to share something, by all means, go ahead.
Thank you, Nicole. It's extremely informative. And I'm going to ask if we can get a copy of this, either the PowerPoint or the PDF. So I need to spend a lot more time on each slide.
Oh, yeah. Yes, there are lots of quotes in here, isn't there? From different books.
And information. There's a lot for me, newish information that I need to really just assimilate.
Zenaidi, can you send, because you have that PowerPoint, don't you? Could you please send a PDF to
Nicole.
the group?
Okay.
That would be great.
Much. Thank you, Nicole. I so appreciate this.
No, not a problem. It will be on the website anyway, which is Odile is working at it, and she's putting all this on the website. So soon, within a week or two, it will be ready. We are on the verge of finishing the website where everything will be there. So as soon as it's presented, then it will be posted on the website straight away.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I love slide 28. It's
28.
just brings so much clarity to that we need to move on. It's very progressive.
Yeah, DK doesn't mince his words, does he?
No.
He calls a spade a spade.
I like that, though.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But he doesn't say that in a spirit of criticism. That's what I love about Master DK, you know. He's saying it with love so that, you know, we can take responsibility for what we've done and make us realize that that's what we need to do to be able to move on and to offset karma.
Yes.
You know, just realize where you've gone wrong so that then you can redress the situation and not perpetuate the same problem year after year, century after century.
Right.
But it's slide 26, which, so to me, like you, I didn't know about that triangle of evil, which is very interesting, working in these 3
So
points.
interesting. I mean, that was from 70 years ago.
Correct. Yes. Yes, he wrote it, I think, in the 30s. The raise and initiation was the last one to be written, so probably closer to the early 40s. Yeah.
I wonder in Central Europe what it's referring to, because that's emerging today as a conflict point.
Yeah, I don't know. And again, I think we might have to go through some historical documents to see where the migration is coming from. where in Central Europe is that is that point of evil.
Just offer that. I thought I had read somewhere that it was Eastern Europe. I remember Eastern Europe and some place in India, but it may be something different here.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
It's great information. I mean, there's a lot of new material for me in this, like the others. I guess it's yeah.
Yeah. I come from a Catholic background, and one of my brothers was a deacon, and one of my sisters was a nun. And, you know, they all talk about the Holy Land and, you know, Jerusalem and all of that. So it's still quite ingrained in the Catholic. I don't know about the other Christian faiths, like the Protestants and the Anglicans and all that. I don't know much of their doctrines, whether they have the same affiliation to Jerusalem and Palestine as the Catholic religion. Does anybody know?
Well, I was raised Episcopalian in England.
Yes.
I don't remember anything pertaining to Jerusalem. I just know that as I was in my teens, there were never any answers for me in the church. You know, they say life after
Yes.
death, and that's it. Life everlasting, that's it. There were nothing
Yeah.
went further. So I just had to go on, and I became a theosophist, and I've also been a Buddhist for 10 years as well as the ancient. So I never got my answers, but I'm not sure about its affiliation with the Middle East at all. But I have to suspect that the Vatican in Italy, I don't know about the wholesomeness of that. That's something I wonder, but that's getting into a little difficulty talking about that.
Yeah, I don't know either. Anything else struck you in there? I found fascinating these two different ways of building the Ray 2 and the Ray 3. I thought that was quite revealing when I saw this code, and I thought, oh my God, DK, you're quite right. You know, and that applies to the Jewish people today. You know, the ray through of the ray 3 of their personality is really clashing with their soul ray 2 of Virgo, because both ways are completely different. Their ways of building, their ways of looking at life are totally different. I thought that was quite significant, and it sort of made me understand a little bit better the problem of the Jews.
And of course, it's our problem because we come from a solar system of ray 3. That's what we have been developed from. And now
Absolutely.
trying to get ray 2 deeper into humanity. So it's just all our problem, right? It's not just the Jews.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's exactly what we have to do, right? It's our clash.
That's right. That's right. Very good point, Heike. Thanks for pointing that out. Yes. Yeah. First and second solar system clashing.
Maybe a question for you then. If it was ray 4, would the clash be less if it was 4 and 3? Because could you see 4 as a subsidiary of 3? So that there would be some commonality there, or?
Actually, I would see with ray 2 and ray 4 would be a greater commonality than 3 and 4.
Yeah. Okay.
There would still be conflict because ray 4 is conflict leading to harmony, and the ray 2, the ray 4 rather, is another differentiation of ray 2. So yeah, I would see more but then, you know, and this is what is filling me up with so much hope at the moment. It's when I know that the cycle of ray 4 has started to come in and influence the world. Yes, it's bringing conflict, but the end result is harmony. There will be a lot more harmony because of the ray 4 coming in from the year 2025 and onward. So becoming stronger and stronger.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
So good point too, Francois.
Thank you for that information, because my personality is ray 4, and I have to tell you, it brings a lot of conflict. Needs to get resolved through the pairs of opposites. But that was helpful information for me. Thank you.
Yeah, the ray 4 is always weighing between the positive and the negative. And of course, while it's doing that, so there's the clash between the pairs of opposites until finally the two pairs of opposites come together and harmonize.
A question, I guess. Could we say? I think I've seen this in some of the course material that the rays 1, 2, and 3. I think rays of aspect. No, I mean they tend to be present in someone's vehicles when I think you've passed the first initiation, I guess, where you're somewhat evolved. So
yeah,
the way I see this, if they have 2 and 3, that would reflect their progress, I guess, along the path. But having rays of aspects in your vehicles is more difficult to handle, or then you would have the other rays, which would be not simpler, but I guess less. There would be more commonality, maybe. I don't know how to explain it. I'm striving here, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we do know though that the rays of attribute 4, 5, 6 have to merge into ray 3.
Mhm.
And then 4 and 6, you know, once they've come together, they've merged their qualities, then they are raised to ray 2. So just like ray 7 then will be raised or absorbed by ray 1, and the ray 5 then will be absorbed by the ray 3.
Yeah. Okay.
So is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Mm.
So in their case, they may have been absorbed, and they're working with
Yeah.
rays of aspect. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I think maybe I'll turn off the recording now.